Good evening and welcome and happy St. Patrick's Day. It is the 17th of March 2022. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. My name's Jenny McCormack and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I'm based in the market town of Brackley, which is in Northamptonshire in the UK. Thank you for joining me on St. Patrick's Day. I have made a very quick card earlier on. I was thinking about what I was going to do for this evening, and then I just had an idea that I wanted to make everybody a St. Patrick's Day card. And I had seen this idea from another demonstrator, and this is actually the pansy petal, but with the outside and cut. This is in jade green, just jade. I thought it looked like a, well, it should be a 4-leaf clover, shouldn't it? So it's just about 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I've taken the wishing you a happy St. Patrick's Day message from the sentiment stamp set called A Wish for Everything. That's the one. A Wish for Everything. Couldn't think of the name. And that's got St. Patrick's Day on it. So just a fun little card. So I hope for those of you that celebrate St. Patrick's Day, I hope you're enjoying the day. So I'm continuing on in our series using the Flowering RainBoots. This was the card that I created yesterday morning, Wednesday morning, on here, and these are the cards that we created earlier in the week. This was on Monday, that's the envelope for it, and this one, and then this one was on Tuesday with the Wellington boots. So I'm carrying on with that, and as I said in the description, this is an experimental card because I have the idea. Whether I can actually put it into practice is another thing altogether. So what I want to do is use this die that comes with the RainBoots set that produces this little piece here. Let me put it onto the white card, you might see it a little bit better. This one here. And what I want to do is make a trellis as a backdrop. Now I've got two ideas for the backing. One potentially would be to use this to make it look like a fence. So I'm quite tempted to do that. Hi Tracy. Or the other is to use blending brushes to create a scene behind. So I'm not quite decided which way I'm going to take that. So let me show you how we're going to create the trellis to start with. One of the other die cuts is this cute little trowel, which I've cut out from this same paper. So what I've done is I've taken some of the paper from Heart and Home, because the reverse of this has wood grain, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some ink onto this and then die cut it, which is what I've done with these ones here. Now my secret weapon for attaching this is using some of our self-adhesive sheets on the back, which means I don't have to worry about adding glue. So I put some strips across the back, and I've got a blending brush here with some brown. I'm just going to grab my early espresso ink, which magically is just underneath my phone. I thought it had disappeared for a minute. Okay, so I'm just going to pick up some of this and pop it onto here to create a wooden brown fence rather than a sort of white painted fence. You could also take your ink pad to the paper and literally just swipe the ink over. So if you want to do an all over quick design, just going to do that. Try not to make too much mess, like so. And if you change the force that you've got on it, can you see you can alter the amount of ink going across, and that makes quite an effective fence, because you've got some sort of natural distressing going on. If I lift that up, hopefully you can see that, like so. And let's close that up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my trellis onto here to die cut it out. Now you can make this trellis as long as you want by cutting multiples. It's really easy to put the put the layers together to create a longer piece, like so. Or you can do a wider trellis that way just by touching them together. And obviously this could be horizontal or vertical, whichever way you want to do it. You could also do some sort of funky designer work like that if you wanted to. And obviously you could also cut this out in just brown card or coloured card if you wanted a coloured trellis. The other thing I'm going to do is cut out my little trowel as well, and I'm going to cut that from some white card. And I've already put some sticky on the back of that. I'm just going to cut this down a bit smaller. So hope you've had a good day, Tracy. I'm not quite sure where everybody's got to today. Right, I'm just going to bring in my mini cut and emboss machine. Not to lose my little trowel die. And this machine, I know Tracy knows this anyway, is still on offer for the month of March. So I'm just going to cut up here. As I say, you could just cut from card if you wanted to. I'm going to make sure that I put my die on this bit here because I want that sort of area of detail. Just going to pop this on. I appreciate this might be slightly out of your view, so if I can bring it over a little bit without throwing everything. And then this is my little piece of white card that my trowel is going to go on. Oh, that was a bit, it was very tight for space. Okay, let's just pop this through. A bit close to the edge, but I'm going to stick with it. There we go. Pop that out of the way. So there is my trowel. I'm just going to grab a pair of tweezers just to pop that out. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to ink up the handle with some brown ink so it looks like it's a wood handle, and then I'm going to or actually I could just use a blends pen and then use some grey for the other elements of that. So it looks like metal, basically. Okay, so let's just pop this piece out. Somebody's just commented kindly, hi Katie, on my St. Patrick's Day, and correctly informed me, of course, that it's a shamrock, not a four-leaf clover. Dear, dear. What am I like? So thank you. I think it was Anne that commented on that. So I've got various pieces now, and I've also got my little trowel here. So I'm just going to use my blends pen as they're here and just do that bit there in brown. That's actually the colour I've used there is a bronze, and then I'm going to use a light smoky slate for the, I would call them tines, but that's really of a rake, isn't it? For the prongs. There we go. Okay, so I've got a little fork here, and I'll probably cut out some pots in a minute. Now, I've got my piece of card, so I just need to decide, is my trellis going to be placed on here with a sky background, or is it going to be placed in front of a wooden fence? I can't quite decide. Let's do a sky background and then I can decide which way I'm going to go with that. So I've got just a blue blending brush. This has got plenty of blue on it, as you can see, which is perfect just for going over and making the look of the sky behind. It really doesn't need to be solid. I like it with the patterns, like so. Okay, so I've got the option of putting these pieces on. I could put a strip behind them, because in fact they wouldn't, oh, they could be sort of in the open air, couldn't they? Like so. Because then what I want to do is put the pots and the plants in front. So that's one way. Or the other is to do this. So what you reckon, Tracy and Katie? Hi Brenda. Am I going to go for the sky, or am I going to go for the fence? I suppose I could do a bit of both and have this as my fence. So what do you reckon? Let me know what you think. Because I can't decide. Okay, so one of the thoughts I had, Tracy says the DSP, thank you. So one of the thoughts I had is all of these little pieces come out from the centre of this trellis here. So what I could do is have some of these as either a sort of brick wall or as if they were sort of tiles. Do you know what I mean? For some pots to be standing on. Oops. Because I don't want to waste these. So, right, just trying to find my way back. Here I am. Brenda says fence and okay. So Katie, better let me know what you think. So I was thinking of sort of putting these on. I don't have to. I could do a combination which could be this fence with a trellis behind it. So let's just cut a small panel and experiment. Just need to find my trimmer. So I'm going to cut a little bit and see whether this will work. So I'm not going to cut it the full height, like so. Let's cut it about like that. And see whether that would work. So then I've got a bit of both going on. Like that. And in fact I could bring this down, or I could have it going crossways, like so. Too many choices. So I think I could make this a little bit darker, and in fact what I could do is just cut into this to make it look like the top of the fence. Or, okay, here I've got an idea now. I might need this longer. Let's get the yellow, the brown here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this into strips. And then reapply them. So if I make these 1.8 each. Okay. 0.8. Okay, so I'm going to bring this back in, and I've got my panels here, so I'm thinking of attaching them back again. Like so. So it looks like a fence. Oh, let me just, oh, I think I did turn my sound down yesterday a little bit because I was right by the microphone. Thank you, Brenda. I think that'll be better. Let me know if that's better now. Okay, so, and I'm going to round these off. I may also be quieter because I'm concentrating. Okay. Thank you, Brenda. So I'm just going to sort of round the tops of these. And I will shorten them as well, I think. So I say, this is absolutely experimental, and who knows whether this will work. But if you don't try, you'll never know. So we're featuring the Flowering RainBoots set at Coffee and Card tomorrow and next Tuesday. I think what I'm going to do is bring these down a little bit. Like so. And then my trellis is going to sit on top. Now, should I go right the way across? I think I should. So, let me grab this one. Make sure, let's do this panel here. Make sure I've got it in the right direction. So, like that. And what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of detail on the edges. So, apologies that this is a little bit more time consuming, but hopefully it will be worth it. Okay, next one. So I'm going to put the whole fence down and then trim off the bottom pieces. And then I'm going to pop some pots and flowers in front. So you could recreate this really with any sort of wood grain paper that you may have, and also you could use a wood grain stamp, or you could use a wood grain embossing folder to get the same effect. So this paper here is from the Heart and Home, which is what we used for, what do we use it? We had it at our Let's Get Creative event. I knew I'd use it somewhere. Okay, so booking closes this evening for our March class. So thank you to everybody who's booked. It's been particularly popular this month. I'm not really surprised. It's an easy class to recreate. You don't need a huge amount of accessories or stamps or anything. All of the work is there for you. Okay, right. We're making progress. Let me just see if there's any questions. No, we're all good. Okay, so there's my next set of pieces. So I'm going to just round the tops again. Nearly lost my glasses while I was doing that. And obviously you could make this fence as sort of weathered as you want, really. So we ended up with both, actually. We ended up with the fence and the sky. Okay, right, let's see what we've got here. So this is my panel with my sky. I think I'm going to do it that way around, I think. And then my fence is going to go onto here, like so. And then my trellis is going to go on top. Now hopefully I've got enough pieces of trellis. Here's one I did earlier. Probably will run out. What I might do is leave a gap either side. I think that would be prudent. So let's just add some glue to these and get these attached. So I hope everybody's had a good day. Compared to yesterday, when it rained here just about all day, it's been lovely here today. Cold, and certainly colder this evening, but dry and sunny, no rain. And I'm told it will be the same tomorrow. Okay, so I'm going to leave a little gap in between, just so you can see the sky. Otherwise I might as well just have put that wood grain piece straight down. So, and I could put a piece across, but to be honest, when I've got my trellis piece on there, I don't think it will matter. So if I was recreating this again, I would work out what the length of these panels need to be roughly, so that I'm not wasting this. This can make another little fence, to be honest. Anyway. There we go. They remind me of lollipop sticks. And now that's, I've got a slightly narrower one here. Or I could put this one on and trim the very edge, which I think I will do for the sake of speed. And obviously what you could do is put the glue on there. Okay, so let's pop that one on. And I'm not worrying whether they are exactly in line. They seem to be fairly in line, but I'm not worrying too much about it. Let's trim that excess off. And I'm just going to put this piece on here because I know there's glue on there. And I really don't want the glue all over my trimmer. There we go. So leave those on there. Like so, and I'm just going to trim this very edge off. It's literally about 1 millimetre. Like so. Okay, now I can put some birds in the sky if I want to, or something. So here's my trellis, like so. So I can either put it up to the top, I could just put it across like that. And the good thing is, because it lines up really well, these pieces at the bottom can be used at the side. Right, let me just have a quick sip of my drink. Okay, so do I need to put the trellis right to the edge? That's the question. Or just start it in the middle. Let's see where that one takes us to. I just want to see if that one will fit on the end. Not quite. So I'm going to start it just a little way in. So what I've done with these is I have put our self-adhesive tape on sheets on the reverse, which will make it a lot easier to stick down, and hopefully, because they come up in, although they start as a 6x12 sheet, the panels are about 2.5 to 3 inches wide, so it does mean you can put them down with a gap, which I think is particularly useful. So let's pop this one. What I should really do is put one in the middle, isn't it, and then work either side. So just be careful not to stretch it too much. Okay, I can trim that off. Hi Kerrie, good morning to you. We're having fun with fences and trellises using some of the papers from Heart and Home, and I've made myself a little fence, and then I'm using the trellis from the Flowering RainBoots die set. I think they're called RainBoot dies. also putting them up my fence here. And I'm just taking time to line them up so they just touch each other, like so. You can see that. Thank you, Kerrie. And we had a team meeting yesterday, and one of the things, I think it was at the team meeting, that I said to my team is, people often ask me why the Stampin' Up stamps don't have the same name as the coordinating dies. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. So the stamp set is called Flowering RainBoots, but the dies are called RainBoot dies. And in my mind, many other people's, I'm sure, think, why wouldn't you keep it the same? And there's a really good reason for that, which is, if you're doing a search, for example, on the website, and you just type in Flowering RainBoots, if the stamp set and the dies had the same name, it would be very easy for the system to pick up the dies first, and customers end up ordering the dies instead of the stamps. Now, if you're looking for the bundle, you'll always know to look for the word bundle, which obviously has both of them in. But I just thought I'd share that for anybody who didn't know that and wondering why the stamp set's called Flowering RainBoots, but the dies are called RainBoots. So there you go. That's your fun fact for today. Okay, so I'm just peeling these off, and this is by far the best way to put these down, which is not to have to attach glue. There we go. Nearly there. It's definitely going downhill, isn't it? Never mind. And then hopefully I've got enough bits left over to put this one together. If I can just take the backings off. So what I'm going to do is just cut it at that point there. Put that one on, and this one I might need to cut at the bottom, at the edge rather, sorry. So there's that one, got this one here. I know it's a lot of work, isn't it, just for a fence. Never mind. It makes up for all my clean and simple ones that I do. And I just need one more in there. So yeah, no waste, and also the fact that you don't have to watch me cut another piece out. And these pieces, I can't remember at what point you came in, Kerrie, but these pieces were just cut from this designer series paper with some early espresso ink on it. And in this piece I just literally dragged the ink pad down the DSP to create that effect. Okay, let's just trim these pieces off. And I did think I could definitely use these because they've got the backings on to create some little mosaic type areas. You could put them at the diagonal so you've got little diamonds. That would be quite good fun. Thanks, Kerrie. Okay, so let's just trim these out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that last little one there. Okay, so there is my fence and my trellis. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some pots across the bottom and then some tulips and things in them, or these flowers here. They're almost like gerberas sort of things, aren't they? Yes, garden path. And I also thought you can have it as a wall, or yes, anything like that. So I'm going to keep those and put them on the bottom of something else. However, I'm not going to make you sit and watch me put all of those back in, because that would be a little bit chaotic. Right, I have the pot stamp here. Let's just grab some spare card. This one will do, and I'm just going to stamp them in cinnamon cider, because that makes a good pot, and of course cinnamon cider is one of our retiring colours. So we're saying goodbye to that shortly, but we'll get to see, as demonstrators will get to see the new in colours next week. Right, I need to leave a bit of space between these. I think that will actually probably work. And I am just going to cut these out manually, just really quickly. She says might have been quicker to die cut them actually, but never mind. I intended to have some of these ready so you weren't waiting for me to do these, and I have my little garden fork as well that I've created. I might need to make this a little bit darker, or I could have it standing up next to a pot, so we'll have a look at that. And I think some nice bright flowers are needed, so shout me a colour. I've got a brand new Calypso Coral ink pad. One, two, three. Yes, I need to let my dog out. Last one. Yes, I was thinking red or bright pink or something like that. And I'm just going to use my light cinnamon cider. Don't know if I need to actually, but on the edge of these pots, just because I want to stand them to stand out a bit better. From the fence. There we go. I could have done these a colour, I guess. So, and I'm going to use the dark just at the top, so it looks darker in, you know, dark in the top of the pot. Oops, actually, I probably don't need to because my flowers are going to go on top of here. Never mind. I'm there now. And of course you could build up this whole picture if you wanted to with die cuts of flowers and greenery. I'm trying to think. It'd be really easy to put up some greenery behind. Okay, there's my pots. There's my little fork. I appreciate you probably can't see those. They do look dinky through the screen. They're quite big in real life. Okay, right, let's do some flowers. So we've got red as the suggestion. Just having a look to see what that looks like. Poppy Parade and Real Red. Let's just have a quick look. That's Poppy Parade. Of course, I could do the tulips. Or one with tulips and one with... Oh yes, you would. And in fact, there's quite a few things you could do with the top there, isn't there, as well? So... Okay. So the question is, if I put that on there, I could do one and then tulips and then another, but I think it might be too wide. Let's just cut those out quickly. Oh, don't listen with a little fork. So, apologies if this is out of your view. Just going to grab the dies for this. And one thing about this die is that you could use this to cut clouds. So it is in the shape, it's got slightly curvy edges obviously, but I think it would make a good cloud, either as a mask or an edge for stenciling, or in its own right. So it's good to get more than one use out of your dies. So let's cut those. Just going to bring this back so I'm not reaching across the camera too much. But one cut will cut these out easily. There we go. Let's have these two. And the other thing that you could have would be the garden birdhouse itself, sitting behind the fence, wouldn't it? That would also work, Kerrie. You give me an idea for that. And you could have, there's quite a few dies that have got like a vine that you could have climbing up the trellis behind. So I think there's lots of things you could do with this. Okay, so let's see how this is spacing. I really want 3 pots. Just feels right. But it's a bit of a squash. And I can have the other one behind it. Oh yes, Kerrie, that's ingenious. A bird on the... yes. Oh, clever girl. Clever, clever girl. Right, let's put... shall I put some tulips in the middle? Or do you think that would look silly? Just the little bunch of tulips. I've got one already stamped here. That one there. And I've only got pink tulips, so let me cut out another one. Where did they go? Let's just try it and see. And a stamp of tulips so we can use those. Stamp those in the red. I said to my children, I'll only be half an hour on our live this evening. Famous last words, huh? We're all eating together this evening, so they're waiting for me. Okay. There's my tulips. Let's just cut round here. So I can cut those at the same time. Right, dies. Yes, Cassie's looking at me because she wants to go out. Okay, I'm coming. Right. Okay. Is that one? Let's just put a bit of tape on there. And that one. hoping my tulips haven't moved. Okay. There we go. Right. I will sort out all of these pieces afterwards. But I do need to let the dog out. Bear with me 1 second. Oh, you can go out, Cassie. Door's already open for her. Just being needy. Okay, let's have a look and see whether this will work. 2, 3. It's that one. Okay. I got one too many tulips. No, that's right. Tulips. And there. So it feels a bit squished. Let us find. Yes, I have a drawer of white pieces that I use ready for stamping, so I don't have, there's no point cutting into a new one then. And I often will keep them on my desk as well. Right, let's try it with the 2 tulips. And like so. What do we think? Does it look too busy? Let me bring it up for you to see. Or shall I stick with 2 pots? Let me just see with 2 pots. I could have an empty pot in the middle. Like so. I'll put the other one behind. Definitely needs 3 pots. So I'm going to put that one behind, these 2 in front, like that. Not quite as bunched up as that, I think. And now, of course, I really do need something climbing up my trellis, I've decided, because these are a bit short. Let me just see. Sorry, this is really a little bit extreme, isn't it? That's better. Okay, let me lift that up for you to see. Voila. I like that better. Okay, now I am just going to Look for those birds. Is this one too big? Just as a matter of interest. I've got a little robin here, look. It's quite big, isn't he? Right. Which stamp set has got the tiny birds on? Not freeze bird. I can't see which one it is. There is one that's got some tiny little birds. Garden bird. Oh yes, garden bird. That's, yes, thank you. That is the one. Thank you. And these might be too small. Let's find the biggest one. Let's just lift that up. No, it's probably about right, isn't it? Okay, so I could put 2 on. And in fact, you could use, this is what you said, wasn't it? That would be, in fact, you could have that on the edge. Oh, so many choices. Thank you, Kerrie, you're a little superstar. Right, let's put these down before we do anything else. No, let's put our birds on. Not quite sure what I'm going to do if I make a mess of this though. Let's grab a small block and let's go for it. Just want a tiny block. And a little piece to practice on. Because these don't have die cuts. So there's one, and the other. Are we going to have 2 birds? Or are we going to have 1? Okay, serious time, glasses are off. There we go. Don't apologise. Don't apologise at all, Kerrie. It's lovely. It's so nice when there's other ideas. This has definitely got to go in my build a scene list. So, probably going to lose all my other components in the meantime. let's just stamp this in. Bit of mossy meadow. And we're done. I promise. Put those on and then we'll layer it up. Let's put something behind it. And I'm just looking to see where my tree is going to go, that side, or am I going to even it up and put it this side? It's on. There we go. Okay. Pots. That one's behind, so that's going to go flat. Roughly in the middle. And then, did I go for the two or did I go for all of the tulips? Can you remember? Oh, thank you, Tracy. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do, I think that will be fine on there. Thank you. That one. And I'm going to put those on dimensionals. Oops. And just get away with some little bits. Found a cat sleeping in the dog bed. Okay. That's Benjamin who wants to go out. He's very vocal. Okay, tulips are on. Like so, and then these two are I'm going to have these overlapping like so, so that we cover up that middle. There you go, Benjamin. Oh. Right. Well, this has come a long way from my starting point, so thank you for your input, Kerrie, Tracy and Brenda. Go, and then these are going to come down so they cover up the fact that those stalks don't sort of disappear into the pot. So I want a little bit of this on the top. and glue on the bottom so it attaches to the pot. If I got those the right way around. I did. Okay. Well, thank you for sticking with me. I'm sure there's more exciting things to be doing, but I appreciate you joining me. I think I better put a warning for the replay. This is a long video. There we go. Now, one thing I meant to do, but I haven't, just going to lift this one up, is I just want to blend a bit of this tulip because it looks a bit white otherwise. So let me grab it's still got pink in it from yesterday. So I can there we go. Just because that middle section looks a bit white, it looks like I've got a gap there, even though I haven't. Same with my tulips. And in fact, what I meant to do for the flowers, although I've done them in red, was I meant to do them in grey so they looked a bit like daisies. But hey ho, we're here now. There we go. That feels better. That middle bit now is greener. If you can, you probably can't. Yeah, it's just as well, really, Brenda, isn't it? But thank you. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Right, let's just quickly add a little bit of crumb cake for this bird, so he's not blue as per the sky. And on the side, so just going to use a tiny little bit of mint macaron on these leaves. Just the smallest amount. I could use my blender pen, but it's got a bit too much pink on it and it'll discolour my leaves. There we go. Okay. Whew. There we go. Right. Now to mount it onto the card. Let me find the top for my glue. What colour backing do we want for this masterpiece? Our collaborative masterpiece. So I've got white card and I'm thinking possibly red. So here is my white card. I'm looking for my coloured layers, which have all but disappeared. Oh, it's not wide enough. Oh, bless you. Thank you, ladies. Right. Do we think red or crumb cake? Or Mossy Meadow, which is just here. That's a bit more natural, isn't it, I think. Tracey and Brenda like the red. I can't quite decide. I'm just going to cut, so I'm just going to cut these two panels and then I can look at it the right size. This would make a lovely Mother's Day card, wouldn't it? Green looks good too, thanks Kerrie. Right, this is going to be 10 centimetres by 14.35. And then ooh, okay, I think the green might be just more natural looking than the red. Oh, didn't even have the little fork that I cut out. I think the green. So the question is, yes, I could put that little fork across the bottom like that. Actually, you can't really see it very well, can you? So maybe I don't know. It just doesn't show up on the screen. Looks okay in real life. Right, let's put this together. I'm going with the green, folks. I can honestly say I'm looking forward to my dinner now. Right, excuse all this chaos on the right hand side of my desk. Luckily you can't see all of it. I could put the little fork inside, I suppose. Now is not the time to get inky marks all over it, that's for sure. Okay, I'm going to stick with that as that. Thank you for the bird idea, that was inspired. Thank you, Kerrie. And thank you for, and also for the branches. Just finishes it off perfectly. So, thank you. That was a bit of a labour of love, wasn't it, that one? But there we go. That's the way it goes. I'm going to deliberate about that fork. As I say, it looks good in real life, but on the screen it looks completely lost. So thank you so much for joining me. I will finish off the inside and I will pop an envelope on there. I'll pop something on the envelope just to finish that off, and I'm going to leave it without a sentiment. Yeah, because I think then it could be anything. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a great weekend. I'm not live tomorrow, Friday, but I do have coffee and card in the afternoon. I'll be sharing this card, but we won't be recreating that coffee and card. We'll be doing the simpler versions as we had earlier this week. So thank you so much. I appreciate your patience. I appreciate my children's patience. So we're going to go off and grab ourselves some food. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a great evening, a great weekend. Booking for my class is now closed, so I can get that all sent off. I look forward to catching up and crafting with you all really soon. Thank you once again. Bye for now.